Hi guys, it's Avi from Bessenmo, and today I want to have a chat to you regarding busting myths about outsourcing. These days I speak to quite a lot of people, and outsourcing seems to be a bad word. People tend to think outsourcing means you're getting poor quality, you're getting inferior service, and you're not in control of what's going on, especially regarding things that have to do with your business. So even though partially it is true, and it can have implications unless it's monitored and managed well, but in most cases, if it's done correctly, it can be a very, very powerful and useful tool for any business owner. So one of the few things that I put on the board that I want to have a chat about, first of all, the cost. One of the main reasons people outsource is to cut costs. These days, with technology and everything available at our fingertips, we can do much more, and if managed professionally and well, much quicker, which makes it much cheaper. There was a study done by Deloitte who said that cost cutting, you can save up to about 40 to 60% by outsourcing some of the key functions of the business. Also, opportunity cost. These days, I deal with a lot of business people, and people in business have this mentality of DIY. Everything that needs to be done, they want to do it themselves. And even though it's a very good mentality, because look, who else can do better than you? But in some cases, it might not be the best way, because look at it this way: if it takes you, say, 3 hours to do the books, chances are, for a professional, it could take maybe an hour, hour and a half. Therefore, you're already spending much longer than the professional would. Another thing is, the level of knowledge that you may have, or some of the insights that the professional may have, can also add value. And another thing, opportunity cost. If you go out and get one or more client within this, instead of spending time on your books, for example, this will more than cover the hours that you've got, the time that, and the money that you've got to spend. Risk management. A lot of the times when people have, for example, in-house bookkeeper or an admin person, it's great. It's great, they come in, they do their work, but what happens when a person gets sick? Or even worse, what happens when a person quits? Or, falls under a bus? It happens. What happens then? Who's going to take over? I did have people get in touch with me at one point and saying the bookkeeper went AWOL, what do I do? And we came in and helped out as much as we could, but it was a very risky and a very scary time for the business owner, because the payroll's due today, and unless you pay your employees on time, you know what happens. Scalability. When one person works by themselves, there's only so much that they can do. If you manage the outsourcing process well, you can get a team, not just one person, to be available to you at any given point. Therefore, when times are busy and you're relying on more information to be processed, and you want still within the same guidelines and the same time frames, you need a team to become bigger. For example, one person, you need 1.5 people, 3 people, depending on how big the task is. With a well-managed outsourced team, you can have that. You can have somebody who can sort things out much quicker, and when there's less busy times, they can scale down to half time, quarter time, whatever the time may be, whatever time you require. Some of the questions that people have about professionalism, and I did see it. To be honest with you, I did see people come to us, and some of the books that we've seen of outsourced bookkeeping from overseas, especially, were not the best, to be honest. Especially those $20 an hour bookkeepers. It costs more than the owner to fix it up than initially what they've done. So as I said, if it's managed correctly, if you know the company that you outsourcing the information to, and how they're managing it, and who's responsible for the data. Another thing, I would also have somebody check over once in a while to make sure things are done correctly, because the business owners have better things to do than to look over what they've outsourced already. Commitment. People say, if it's an outsourced company, what level of commitment will I have? Well, to be honest with you, most of the time more than an in-house employee, because in-house employee can leave. In-house employee has things that they need to do. You are a job. I've been asked, what happens if a person, what happens commitment-wise? I outsource my daily tasks, and what happens? So in reality, you're probably going to be much better off having an outsourcer, because the level of commitment varies. Changes at this stage. From a daily task to an employee, it becomes a source of revenue for a company. And instead of boredom or everything else that you might see from some of your employees, you actually a client who requires a service, and it is important for the company that's providing the service, to do it at a top level. And they have internal systems how things happen and how things work, which also assists with what happens, with the level of service that you receive. So on the commitment level, chances are you're going to be receiving a better service and higher commitment, because if somebody leaves inside a company that you're outsourcing to, chances are they'll be replaced by somebody else, and you shouldn't even feel any difference if it's done correctly. Another thing that people also fear is, my work is going to be overseas, which is, look, fair enough. It's it is a trust factor, and people are concerned about what's going to happen to my data overseas. People are going to know, people are going to see. I have no idea what's going to happen to the information that I'm sending out. And reality is, majority of the companies that you're going to be outsourcing to will have some presence overseas. But if it's done correctly, they will have a majority of the presence inside Australia, and it will be managed by people who knows what they're doing. And whatever stuff, if it goes overseas, not necessarily that it does, by the way, because a lot of times people don't have overseas team to manage things. They manage everything internally. The only reason why they want or they build a model around outsourcing is to be able to provide a better service. Like, for example, with us, we have 3 people working on any one of the clients. Therefore, we can guarantee that the work will be done on time, and it's absolutely irrelevant if one of the people that are working on the account will be here, or they will leave. Somebody else will jump into place and keep going. But it is a valid point. But like I said, if it's managed correctly by the team that you're outsourcing it to, it should be fine. And these are the questions you have to ask. What happens in this case? What happens in that case? And any of the fears or questions that you have, you should be able to get a solid answer from the company that you're outsourcing to. And if you don't, then look, maybe it's not the best company. Maybe you look elsewhere. I think you should be able to find somebody to assist you. And it's a really powerful tool to have as a backup in some cases also. So I hope that busted some of the myths that people have about outsourcing. And if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to assist. Thank you.